Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Crafty Beer Reviews. Today I will be reviewing 3Beans. This is a limited special release from them. Just came out about 3 weeks ago. And you might be wondering, why the name 3Beans? Well, they've used 3 different beans, go figure. They've used Romano beans in this, cacao beans from Mass Brothers and their chocolatiers. I've actually had some of their chocolate. Really good stuff if you like chocolate. Definitely check them out. And then the third bean is coffee that was used from Stumptown. So I am really looking forward to trying this one. Let's go ahead and crack into this. And this is a Baltic porter, as they call it, and you want to serve it at about 55 degrees, and this is 10% ABV, so a pretty strong beer. And on the side of the can they do say to serve this in a glass. This will be the first thing I've had from them since my resin review as well. Alright. So that pours out a really dark brown, pretty close to black, but there's slight ruby hints. About 2.5 fingers of a pretty fluffy, kind of khaki tan head. Looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and take our first sniff. Well, right off the bat, there's a good deal of some chocolate and coffee in there. Almost like a cocoa powder. Some very slight toffee notes. Slight trace of alcohol. Not much, though. Yeah, but definitely dominated by the kind of coffee and chocolate notes. Almost kind of like a... There's a tiny bit of roastiness in there, but not a ton. Smells pretty good. Let's go ahead and take our first sip. Well, right off the bat, you guessed it, coffee and chocolate. It's kind of like a bittersweet chocolate. Almost kind of like you get a little bit of that cocoa powder, kind of like a milk chocolate sweetness in there. Definitely get the coffee, although it's nowhere near as prominent as I would have figured for this kind of beer, especially with the additions they put in. After that, there's definitely some roastiness. Very tiny, like, slight hint of vanilla in there as well. Some nice kind of roasty malt notes as well, and it finishes a little bit dry. It's definitely bitter, but not too bitter. It kind of balances out with the sweetness. Actually has a pretty full body for a porter. It's definitely thicker than I would have thought. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not stout level thickness, but it is thicker than your traditional porter, and it has a really nice kind of like creamy, silky, smooth mouthfeel to it as well. Definitely get a little bit of alcohol in the taste. Not too much though, but there's a decent warming effect as it goes down. So the 10% you can definitely tell is in this. It's slightly masked, but not as well as I would like. Not only that, but I feel like the coffee and the chocolate, while obviously they're prominent, they're not as potent as I would have thought, you know, considering that they added the cacao beans and, you know, they have the coffee they added in. But drinks really easy for 10%, even though you can notice the warming effect. For a rating, I'm going with a 4 out of 5 for this one. I think it's a decent beer, but I'm not blown away by it, honestly. The biggest turnoff for me is not the alcohol, actually. I mean, because a little bit in the aroma, a little bit in the taste, you know, the warming effect. Not a big deal, although 10% could be more well-masked. What bothers me is, even though there is the coffee and chocolate notes, it's not as pronounced as you would think, honestly. I mean, if you've had stuff like Founder's Breakfast Stout or, you know, Southern Tier Chocolate or anything like that, I think the coffee and the chocolate and like those beers far outweighs like, you know, kind of the really in-your-face type of beer. Now, on the other hand, this is a really nice, easy drinking, would be a good dessert beer. This is definitely one of the better beers I've ever had of a can as well, but it just doesn't have enough, like, oomph, if that makes any sense. Like, it's just not in your face enough when it comes to the coffee and chocolate. That being said, still a very decent beer, still really solid. It does kind of have the nice, like, cocoa powder, the coffee notes, a little bit of vanilla, the roastiness, a little bit of balancing the sweetness and the bitterness out. So it's a good beer. It's just not mind blowing, but I would say definitely try and pick this one up. It's only around for a little while, and it's only $9 for a 4 pack, so not a bad deal. But yeah, that does it for this beer review, guys. And remember, if you want to see any particular beer review, just leave me a comment, and I'll try and get to that. All right, I'm gonna get back to sipping on this, and I hope whatever you're doing involves good craft beer. See ya.